Act 3, Scene 1, London, the Parliament House. Enter King Henry, Exeter, Gloucester, and Winchester, Richard Plantagenet and Warwick with white roses, Somerset and Suffolk with red roses.
Com'st thou with deep, premeditated lines, with written pamphlets studiously devised? Free of Gloucester, if thou canst accuse or aught intent to lay upon my charge, do it without invention, suddenly, as I with sudden and extemporal speech purpose to answer what thou canst object.
Presumptuous priest, this place commands my patience, or thou shouldst find thou hast dishonored me. Think not, although in writing I preferred the manner of thy vile, outrageous crimes, that therefore I have forged or am not able verbatim to rehearse the method of my pen. No, prelate, such is thy audacious wickedness, thy lewd, pestiferous, and dissentious pranks, as very infants prattle of thy pride. Thou, a remote, pernicious usurer, froward by nature, enemy to peace, lascivious, wanton, more than well beseems, a man of thy profession and degree. And for thy treachery, what's more manifest in that thou laidst a trap to take my life, as well at London Bridge as at the Tower. Besides, I fear me, if thy thoughts were sifted, the king, thy sovereign, is not quite exempt from envious malice of thy swelling heart.
Gloucester, I do defy thee. Lords, vouchsafe to give me hearing what I shall reply. If I were covetous, ambitious, or perverse, as he will have me, how am I so poor? Or how haps it I seek not to advance or raise myself, but keep my wonted calling? And for dissension, who preferreth peace more than I do, except I be provoked? No, my good lords, it is not that offends, it is not that hath incensed the Duke. It is because no one should sway but he. No one but he should be about the king, and that engenders thunder in his breast and makes him roar these accusations forth. But he shall know I am as good.
As good, thou bastard of my grandfather.
Aye, lordly sir, for what are you, I pray, but one imperious in another's throne?
Am I not protector, saucy priest?
And am not I a prelate of the church?
Yes, as an outlaw in a castle keeps, and useth it to patronage his theft.
Unreverent Gloucester.
Thou art reverend, touching thy spiritual function, not thy life.
Rome shall remedy this.
Rome, hither then.
My lord, it were your duty to forbear.
Aye, so the bishop be not overborne. Methinks my lord should be religious and know the office that belongs to such.
Methinks his lordship should be humbler. It fitteth not a prelate so to plead.
Yes, when his holy state is touched so near.
State holy or unhallowed, what of that? Is not his grace protector to the king?
Plantagenet, I see, must hold his tongue, lest it be said, "Speak, sirrah, when you should. Must your bold verdict enter talk with lords? Else would I have a fling at Winchester."
Uncles of Gloucester and of Winchester, the special watchmen of our English weal, I would prevail, if prayers might prevail, to join your hearts in love and amity. Oh, what a scandal is it to our crown that two such noble peers as you should jar. Believe me, lords, my tender years can tell, civil dissension is a viperous worm that gnaws the bowels of the Commonwealth.
Down with the tawny coats!
What tumult's this?
An uproar I dare warrant, begun through malice of the bishop's men.
Stones! Stones!
Oh, my good lords and virtuous Henry, pity the city of London. Pity us. The bishop and the Duke of Gloucester's men, forbidden late to carry any weapon, have filled their pockets full of pebble stones, and banding themselves in contrary parts, do pelt so fast at one another's pate that many have their giddy brains knocked out. Our windows are broke down in every street, and we, for fear, compelled to shut our shops.
We charge you, on allegiance to ourself, to hold your slaughtering hands and keep the peace. Pray, Uncle Gloucester, mitigate this strife.
Nay, if we be forbidden stones, we'll fall to it with our teeth.
Do what you dare, we are as resolute.
You of my household, leave this peevish broil and set this unaccustomed fight aside.
My lord, we know your grace to be a man just and upright, and for your royal birth inferior to none but his majesty. And ere that we will suffer such a prince, so kind a father of the commonweal, to be disgraced by an inkhorn mate, we and our wives and children all will fight and have our bodies slaughtered by thy foes.
Why, and the very paring of our nails shall pitch a field when they are dead.
Well, stay, I say. And if you love me, as you say you do, let me persuade you to forbear a while.
How this discord doth afflict my soul. Can you, my lord of Winchester, behold my sighs and tears, and will not once relent? Who should be pitiful if you be not? Or who should study to prefer a peace if holy churchmen take delight in broils?
Yield, my lord protector, yield, Winchester. Except you mean with obstinate repulse to slay your sovereign and destroy the realm. You see what mischief and what murder too hath been enacted through your enmity. Then be at peace, except you thirst for blood.
He shall submit, or I will never yield.
Compassion on the king commands me to stoop, or I would see his heart out ere the priest should ever get that privilege of me.
Behold, my lord of Winchester, the Duke hath banished moody, discontented fury, and by his smoothed brows it doth appear. Why look you still so stern and tragical?
Here, Winchester, I offer thee my hand.
Fie, Uncle Beaufort, I have heard you preach that malice was a great and grievous sin, and will you not maintain the thing you teach and prove a chief offender in the same?
Sweet king, the bishop hath a kindly gird. For shame, my lord of Winchester, relent. What? Shall a child instruct you what to do?
Well, Duke of Gloucester, I will yield to thee. Love for thy love, and hand for hand I give.
Aye, but I fear me with a hollow heart. See here, my friends and loving countrymen, this token serveth for a flag of truce betwixt ourselves and all our followers. So help me God as I dissemble not.
So help me God as I intended not.
Oh, loving uncle, kind Duke of Gloucester, how joyful am I made by this contract. Away, my masters, trouble us no more, but join in friendship as your lords have done.
Tend all to the surgeons.
So will I.
And I will see what physic the tavern affords.
Accept this scroll, most gracious sovereign, which is the right of Richard Plantagenet. We do exhibit to your majesty.
Well urged, my lord of Warwick. For sweet prince, and if your grace mark every circumstance, you have great reason to do Richard right, especially for those occasions at Eltham Place I told your majesty.
And those occasions, uncle, were a force. Therefore, my loving lords, our pleasure is that Richard be restored to his blood.
Let Richard be restored to his blood. So shall his father's wrongs be recompensed.
As will the rest, so willeth Winchester.
If Richard will be true, not that alone, but all the whole inheritance I give, that doth belong unto the house of York, from whence you spring by lineal descent.
Thy humble servant vows obedience, and humble service till the point of death.
Stoop then, and set your knee against my foot. And in regarden of that duty done, I girt thee with the valiant sword of York. Rise, Richard, like a true Plantagenet, and rise, created princely Duke of York.
And so thrive, Richard, as thy foes may fall. And as my duty springs, so perish they that grudge one thought against your majesty.
Welcome, High Prince, the mighty Duke of York.
Perish, base prince, noble Duke of York.
Now will it best avail your majesty to cross the seas and to be crowned in France. The presence of a king engenders love amongst his subjects and his loyal friends, as it disanimates his enemies.
When Gloucester says the word, King Henry goes, for friendly counsel cuts off many foes.
Your ships are already in readiness.
Aye, we may march in England or in France, not seeing what is likely to ensue. This late dissension, grown betwixt the peers, burns under feigned ashes of forged love, and will at last break out into a flame, as festered members rut but by degree, till bones and flesh and sinews fall away. So will this base and envious discord breed. And now I fear that fatal prophecy, which in the time of Henry named V was in the mouth of every sucking babe, that Henry born at Monmouth should win all, and Henry born at Windsor lose all, which is so plain that Exeter doth wish his days may finish ere that hapless time.
Act 3, Scene 2. France, before the gates of Rouen, enter Jean Le Pucelle with soldiers disguised as farm peasants.
These are the city gates, the gates of Rouen, through which our policy must make a breach. Take heed, be wary how you place your words. Talk like the vulgar sort of marketmen that come to gather money for their corn. If we have entrance, as I hope we shall, and that we find the slothful watch but weak, I'll by a sign give notice to our friends that Charles the Dauphin may encounter them.
Our sack shall be a mean to sack the city, and we be lords and rulers over Rouen. Therefore we'll knock.
Qui est là?
Paysans, la pauvre gens de France, poor market folks that come to sell their corn.
Enter, go in. The market bell is rung.
Now, Rouen, I'll shake thy bulwarks to the ground.
Saint Denis bless this happy stratagem, and once again will sleep secure in Rouen.
Here entered Pucelle and her practisants. Now she is there. How will she specify, here is the best and safest passage in?
Thrusting out this torch from yonder tower, which once discerned shows that her meaning is no way to that for weakness which she entered.
Behold, this is the happy wedding torch that journeyeth Rouen to her countrymen, but burning fatal to the Talbonite.
See, noble Charles, the beacon of our friend, the burning torch in yonder turret stands.
Now shine it like a comet of revenge, a prophet to the fall of all our foes.
Defer no time. Delays have dangerous ends. Enter and cry the Dauphin presently, and then do execution on the watch.
France, thou shalt rue this treason with thy tears, if Talbot but survive thy treachery. Pucelle, that witch, that damned sorceress hath wrought this hellish mischief unawares, that hardly we 'scape the pride of France.
Good morrow, gallants. Want you corn for bread? I think the Duke of Burgundy will fast before he'll buy again at such a rate. 'Twas full of downel. Do you like the taste?
Scoffon, vile fiend, and shameless courtesan! I trust ere long to choke thee with thine own, and make thee curse the harvest of that corn.
Your grace may starve, perhaps, before that time.
Oh, let no words but deeds revenge this treason.
What will you do, good greybeard? Break a lance and run a tilt at death within a chair?
Foul fiend of France and hag of all despite, encompassed with thy lustful paramours, becomes it thee to taunt his valiant age, and twit with cowardice a man half dead? Damsel, I'll have a bout with you again, or else let Talbot perish with this shame.
Are you so hot, sir? Let Pucelle hold thy peace. If Talbot do but thunder, rain will follow. God speed the Parliament! Who shall be the speaker?
Dare you come forth and meet us in the field?
Belike your lordship takes us then for fools to try if that our own be ours or no.
I speak not to that railing Hecate, but unto thee, Alençon, and the rest. Will you, like soldiers, come and fight it out?
Seigneur, no.
Seigneur, hang! Base muleteers of France, like peasant footboys do they keep the walls, and dare not take up arms like gentlemen.
Away, captains. Let's get us from the walls, for Talbot means no goodness by his looks. Goodbye, my lord. We came but to tell you that we are here!
There will we be too, ere it be long, or else reproach be Talbot's greatest fame. Thou, Burgundy, by honor of thy house, pricked on by public wrong sustained in France, either to get the town again or die. And I, as sure as English Henry lives, and as his father here was conqueror, as sure as in this late betrayed town great Coeur de Leon's heart was buried, so sure I swear to get the town or die.
My vows are equal partners with thy vows.
But ere we go, regard this dying prince, the valiant Duke of Bedford. Come, my lord, we will bestow you in some better place, fitter for sickness and for crazy age.
Lord Talbot, do not so dishonor me. Here will I sit before the walls of Rouen, and will be partner of your weal or woe.
Courageous Bedford, let us not persuade you.
Not to be gone from hence. For once I read that stout Pendragon in his litter sick came to the field and vanquished his foes. Methinks I should revive the soldiers' hearts, because I ever found them as myself.
Undaunted spirit in a dying breast. Then be it so. Heavens keep old Bedford safe, and now no more ado, brave Burgundy, but gather we our forces out of hand and set upon our boasting enemy.
Whither away, Sir John Fastolf, in such haste?
Whither away? To save myself by flight. We are like to have the overthrow again.
What? Will you fly and leave Lord Talbot?
Aye, all the Talbots in the world to save my life.
Cowardly knight, ill fortune follow thee.
Now, quiet soul, depart when heaven please, for I have seen our enemies overthrow. What is the trust or strength of foolish man? They that of late were daring with their scoffs are glad and fain by flight to save themselves.
Lost and recovered in a day again. This is a double honor, Burgundy. Yet heavens have glory for this victory.
Warlike and Marshal Talbot, Burgundy enshrines thee in his heart, and there erects thy noble deeds as valor's monuments.
Thanks, gentle Duke. But where is Pucelle now? I think her old familiar is asleep. Now where's the bastards braves and Charles his gleeks? What? Alamort? Rouen hangs her head for grief that such a valiant company are fled. Now will we take some order in the town, placing therein and some expert officers, and then depart to Paris to the king, for there young Henry with his nobles lies.
What wills Lord Talbot pleaseth Burgundy.
But yet, before we go, let's not forget the noble Duke of Bedford, late deceased. But see his exequies fulfilled in Rouen. A braver soldier never couched lance, a gentler heart never did sway in court. But kings and mightiest potentates must die, for that's the end of all human misery.
Act 3, Scene 3. The plains outside of Rouen. Enter Charles, Bastard, Alençon, and Jean La Pucelle.
Dismay not, princes, at this accident, nor grieve that Rouen is so recovered. Care is no cure, but rather corrosive for things that are not to be remedied. Let frantic Talbot triumph for a while, and like a peacock sweep along his tail. Will pull his plumes and take away his train, if Dauphin and the rest will be but ruled.
We have been guided by thee hitherto, and of thy cunning had no diffidence. One sudden foil shall never breed distrust.
Search out thy wit for secret policies, and we will make thee famous through the world.
We'll set thy statue in some holy place, and have thee reverenced like a blessed saint. Employ thee then, sweet virgin, for our good.
Then thus it must be. This doth John devise. By fair persuasions mixed with sugared words, we will entice the Duke of Burgundy to leave the Talbots and to follow us.
Aye, marry, sweeting, if we could do that, France were no place for Henry's warriors, nor should that nation boast it so with us, but be extirpate from our provinces.
Ever should they be expulsed from France, and not have title of an earldom here.
Your honor shall perceive how I will work to bring this matter to the wished end. Hark! By the sound of drum you may perceive their powers are marching unto Paris-ward. There goes the Talbot with his collar spread, and all the troops of English after him. Now in the rearward comes the Duke and his. Fortune in favor makes him lag behind. Summon a parley, we will talk with him.
A parley with the Duke of Burgundy.
Who craves a parley with the Burgundy?
The princely Charles of France, thy countryman.
What sayest thou, Charles? For I am marching hence.
Speak, Pucelle, and enchant him with thy words.
Brave Burgundy, undoubted hope of France, stay, let thy humble handmaid speak to thee.
Speak on, but be not over tedious.
Look on thy country, look on fertile France, and see the cities and the towns defaced by wasting ruin of the cruel foe, as looks a mother on her lowly babe when death doth close his tender dying eyes. See the pining malady of France. Behold the wounds, the most unnatural wounds which thou thyself hast given her woeful breast. Oh, turn thy edged sword another way. Strike those that hurt, and hurt not those that help. One drop of blood drawn from thy country's bosom should grieve thee more than streams of foreign gore. Return thee, therefore, with a flood of tears, and wash away thy country's stained spots.
Whether she hath bewitched me with her words. Nature makes me suddenly relent.
Besides, all French and France exclaims on thee, doubting thy birth and thy lawful progeny. Who joins with thou but with a lordly nation that will not trust thee but for profit's sake? When Talbot hath set footing once in France, and fashioned thee that instrument of ill, who then but English Henry will be lord, and thou be thrust out like a fugitive? Call me to mind, and mark but this for proof. Was not the Duke of Orleans thy foe? And was not he in England prisoner? But when they heard he was thine enemy, they set him free, without his ransom paid, in spite of Burgundy and all his friends. See then, thou fight'st against thy countrymen, and joinst with them will be thy slaughtermen. Come, come, return. Return, thou wandering lord. Charles and the rest will take thee in their arms.
I am vanquished. These haughty words of hers have battered me like roaring cannon shot. Made me almost yield upon my knees. Forgive me, country, and sweet countrymen, and lords, accept this haughty kind embrace. My forces and my power of men are yours. So farewell, Talbot. I'll no longer trust thee.
Done like a Frenchman. Turn and turn again.
Welcome, brave Duke. Thy friendship makes us fresh.
And doth beget new courage in our breasts.
Pucelle hath bravely played her part in this, and doth deserve a coronet of gold.
Now let us on, my lords, and join our powers, and seek how we may prejudice the foe.
Act 3, Scene 4. Paris, a hall in the palace. Enter the king, Gloucester, Winchester, and Exeter, York, Warwick, and Vernon with white roses, Somerset, Suffolk, and Basset with red roses, and to them, Talbot.
My gracious prince and honorable peers, hearing of your arrival in this realm, I have a while given truce unto my wars to do my duty to my sovereign. In sign whereof this arm that thus hath reclaimed to your obedience 50 fortresses, 12 cities, and 7 walled towns of strength, besides 500 prisoners of esteem, lets fall his sword before your highness' feet, and with this submissive loyalty of heart ascribes the glory of his conquest got, first to my God, and next unto your grace.
Is this the Lord Talbot, Uncle Gloucester, that hath so long been resident in France?
Yes, if it please your majesty, my liege.
Welcome, brave captain and victorious lord. When I was young, as yet I am not old, I do remember how my father said, a stouter champion never handled sword. Long since we were resolved of your truth, your faithful service, and your toil in war. Yet never have you tasted our reward, or been regarded with so much as thanks, because till now we never saw your face. Therefore stand up, and for these good deserts we here create you Earl of Shrewsbury, and in our coronation take your place.
Now, sir, to you that were so hot at sea, disgracing of these colors that I wear, in honor of my noble Lord of York, darest thou maintain the former words thou spakest?
Yes, sir, as well as you dare patronage. The envious barking of your saucy tongue against my lord, the Duke of Somerset.
Sirrah, thy lord I honor as he is.
Why, what is he? As good a man as York?
Hark you not so in witness, take you that.
Oh, villain, thou knowest the law of arms is such, that whosoe'er draws a sword 'tis present death, or else this blow should broach thy dearest blood. But I'll on to his majesty and crave I may have liberty to venge this wrong. When thou shalt see, I'll meet thee again at thy cost.
Well, miscreant, I'll be there as soon as you, and after meet you sooner than you would.
Act 4, Scene 1. Paris, a grand hall of state in the palace. Enter the king, Gloucester, Winchester, Talbot, Exeter, York and Warwick with white roses, Suffolk and Somerset with red roses. Lord Bishop, set the crown upon his head.
God save King Henry of that name the 6th.
Now, Governor of Paris, take your oath, that you will let no other king but him, esteem none friends but such as are his friends, and none your foes but such as shall pretend malicious practices against his state. This shall you do, so help you righteous God.
My gracious sovereign, as I rode from Calais to haste unto your coronation, a letter was delivered to thy hands, writ to your grace from the Duke of Burgundy.
Shame to the Duke of Burgundy and thee. I vowed base knight when I did meet thee next to tear the garter from thy craven's leg, which I have done, because unworthily thou wast installed in that high degree. Pardon me, princely Henry and the rest, this dastard at the battle of Patay, when but in all I was 6,000 strong, and that the French were almost 10 to 1, before we met, or that a stroke was given, like to a trusty squire, did run away, in which assault we lost 1,200 men. Myself and divers gentlemen besides were there surprised and taken prisoners. Then judge, great lords, if I have done amiss, or whether that such cowards ought to wear this ornament of knighthood, yea or no?
To say the truth, this fact was infamous and ill-beseeming any common man, much more a knight, a captain, and a leader.
When first this order was ordained, my lords, knights of the Garter were of noble birth, valiant and virtuous, full of haughty courage, such as were grown to credit by the wars, not fearing death, nor shrinking for distress, but always resolute in most extremes. He then that is not furnished in this sort doth but usurp the sacred name of knight, profaning this most honorable order, and should, if I were worthy to be judge, be quite degraded, like a hedge-born swain that doth presume to boast of gentle blood.
Stain to thy countrymen, thou hear'st thy doom. Be packing, therefore, thou that wast a knight. Henceforth we banish thee on pain of death. And now, my Lord Protector, view the letter sent from our uncle, Duke of Burgundy.
It means his grace that he hath changed his style. No more but plain and bluntly to the king. Hath he forgot he is his sovereign? Or doth this churlish superscription pretend some alteration in his goodwill? Let's hear. I have upon a special cause moved with compassion of my country's wrack, together with the pitiful complaints of such as your oppression feeds upon, forsaken your pernicious faction, and joined with Charles, the rightful King of France. Monstrous treachery! Can this be so, that in alliance, amity, and oaths there should be found such false, dissembling guile?
What, doth my uncle Burgundy revolt?
He doth, my lord, and is become your foe.
Is that the worst this letter doth contain?
It is the worst and all, my lord, he writes.
Why then, Lord Talbot there shall talk with him, and give him chastisement for this abuse. How say you, my lord, are you not content?
Content, my liege? Yes, but that I am prevented. I should have begged I might have been employed.
Then gather strength and march unto him straight. Let him perceive how ill we brook his treason, and what offense it is to flout his friends.
I go, my lord, in heart, desiring still you may behold confusion of your foes.
Grant me the combat, gracious sovereign.
And me, my lord, grant me the combat too.
This is my servant. Hear him, noble prince.
And this is mine, sweet Henry. Favor him.
Be patient, lords, and give them leave to speak. Say, gentlemen, what makes you thus exclaim, and wherefore crave you combat, and with whom?
With him, my lord, for he hath done me wrong.
And I with him, for he hath done me wrong.
What is that wrong whereof you both complain? First let me know, and then I'll answer you.
Crossing the sea from England into France, this fellow here with envious carping tongue upbraided me about the rose I wear, saying the sanguine color of the leaves did represent my master's blushing cheeks, when stubbornly he did repugn the truth about a certain question in the law argued betwixt the Duke of York and him, while other vile and ignominious terms, in confrontation of which rude approach, and in defense of my lord's worthiness, I crave the benefit of law of arms.
And that is my petition, noble lord. For though he seem with forged a quaint conceit, to set a gloss upon his bold intent, yet know, my lord, I was provoked by him, and he first took exceptions at this badge, pronouncing that the paleness of this flower bewrayed the faintness of my master's heart.
Will not this malice, Somerset, be left?
Your private grudge, my lord of York, will out, though ne'er so cunningly you smother it.
Good lord, what madness rules in brain-sick men, when for so slight and frivolous a cause such factious emulation shall arise? Good cousins both of York and Somerset, quiet yourselves, I pray, and be at peace.
Let the dissension first be tried by fight, and then your highness shall command a peace.
The quarrel toucheth none but us alone. Betwixt ourselves, let us decide it then.
There is my pledge. Accept it, Somerset.
Nay, let it rest where it began at first.
Confirm it so, mine honorable lord.
Confirm it so. Confounded be your strife, and perish you with your audacious prate. Presumptuous vassals, are you not ashamed with this immodest, clamorous outrage to trouble and disturb the king and us? And you, my lords, methinks you do not well to bear their perverse objections, much less to take occasion from their mouths to raise a mutiny betwixt yourselves. Let me persuade you to a better course.
Grieves his highness. Good my lords, be friends.
Come hither, you that would be combatants. Henceforth I charge you, as you love our favor, quite to forget this quarrel and the cause. And you, my lords, remember where we are, in France, amongst a fickle, wavering nation. If they perceive dissension in our looks, and that within ourselves we disagree, how will their grudging stomachs be provoked to willful disobedience and rebel? Besides, what infamy will there arise when foreign princes shall be certified that, for a toy, a thing of no regard, King Henry's peers and chief nobility destroyed themselves and lost the realm of France? Oh, think upon the conquest of my father, my tender years, and let us not forego that for a trifle that was bought with blood. Let me be umpire in this doubtful strife. I see no reason, if I wear this rose, that anyone should therefore be suspicious I'm more inclined to Somerset than York. Both are my kinsmen, and I love them both. And as well they may upbraid me with my crown, because, forsooth, the King of Scots is crowned. But your discretions better can persuade than I am able to instruct or teach. And therefore, as we hither came in peace, let us continue peace and love. Cousin of York, we institute your grace to be our regent in these parts of France, and my good lord of Somerset, unite your troops of horsemen with his bounds of foot, and like true subjects, sons of your progenitors, go cheerfully together and digest your angry choler on your enemies. Ourself, my lord protector and the rest, after some respite, will return to Calais, from thence to England, where I hope ere long to be presented by your victories with Charles, Alençon, and that treacherous rout
My Lord of York, I promise you, the king, prettily methought, did play the orator.
And so he did. But yet I like it not in that he wears the badge of Somerset.
Hush, that was but his fancy, blame him not. I dare presume, sweet prince, he thought no harm.
And if it was he did... But let it rest. Other affairs must now be managed.
Well, didst thou, Richard, to suppress thy voice? For had the passions of thy heart burst out, I fear we should have seen deciphered there more rancorous spied, more furious raging broils than yet can be imagined or supposed. But howsoever no simple man that sees this jarring discord of nobility, this shouldering of each other in the court, this factious banding of their favorites, but that it doth presage some ill event. 'Tis much when scepters are in children's hands, but more when envy breeds unkind division. There comes the ruin. There begins confusion.
Act 4, Scene 2. France, before the walls of Bordeaux. Enter Talbot with his soldiers.
Go to the gates of Bordeaux, trumpeter. Summon their general to the wall. English John Talbot, captains, calls you forth, Sergeant-in-arms to Henry, King of England, and thus he would open your city gates. Be humble to us, call my sovereign yours, and do him homage as obedient subjects, and I'll withdraw me and my bloody power. But if you frown upon this proffered peace, you tempt the fury of my 3 attendants, lean famine, quartering steel, and climbing fire, who, in a moment, even with the earth shall lay your stately and air-braving towers, if you forsake the offer of their love.
Thou ominous and fearful owl of death, our nation's terror and their bloody scourge, the period of thy tyranny approacheth. On us thou canst not enter but by death. For I protest we are well fortified and strong enough to issue out and fight. If thou retire, the Dauphin well appointed stands with the snares of war to tangle thee. On either hand thee, there are squadrons pitched to wall thee from liberty of flight. And no way canst thou turn thee redress, but death doth front thee with apparent spoil, and pale destruction meets thee in the face. 10,000 French have taken the sacrament to rive their dangerous artillery upon no Christian soul but English Talbot. Lo, there thou standst, a breathing valiant man of an invincible, unconquered spirit. This is the latest glory of thy praise, that I, thy enemy, do thee withal. For ere the glass that now begins to run finish the process of his sandy hour, these eyes that see thee now well colored shall see thee withered, bloody, pale, and dead. Hark! Hark! The Dauphin's drums, a warning bell, sings heavy music to thy timorous soul, and my shall ring thy dire departure out.
He fables not. I hear the enemy out some light horsemen and peruse their wings. Negligent and heedless discipline, how we are parked and bounded in a pale, a little herd of England's timorous deer, mazed with a yelping kennel of our French curs. If we be English deer, then in blood, not rascal-like to fall down with a pinch, but rather moody, mad, and desperate stags, turn on the bloody hounds with the heads of steel, and make the cowards stand aloof at bay. Sell every man his life as dear as mine, and they shall find dear, dear of us, my friends. God and St. George, Talbot and England's right, prosper our colors with this dangerous fight.
Act 4, Scene 3. The Duke of York's camp in Gascony. Enter the Duke of York and a messenger.
Are not the speedy scouts returned again that dogged the mighty army of the Dauphin?
They are returned, my lord, and give it out that he has marched to Bordeaux with his power to fight Talbot. As he marched along by your espials were discovered 2 mightier troops than that the Dauphin led, which joined with him and made their march for Bordeaux.
A plague upon that villain Somerset, that thus delays my promised supply of horsemen that were levied for this siege. Renowned Talbot doth expect my aid, and I am louted by a traitor villain and cannot help the noble chevalier. God comfort him in this necessity. If he miscarry, farewell wars in France.
Thou princely leader of our English strength, never so needful on the earth of France, spur to the rescue of the noble Talbot, who now is girdled with a waist of iron and hemmed about with grim destruction. To Bordeaux, warlike Duke, to Bordeaux, York, else farewell Talbot, France, and England's honor.
Oh, God! That Somerset, who in proud heart doth stop my cornet, were in Talbot's place. So should we save a valiant gentleman by forfeiting a traitor with a coward. Mad ire and wrathful fury makes me weep that thus we die, while remiss traitors sleep.
Oh, send some succor to the distressed lord.
He dies, we lose. I break my warlike word. We mourn, France smiles, we lose. They daily get all long of this vile traitor Somerset.
Then God take mercy on brave Talbot's soul, and on his son, young John, who 2 hours since I met and traveled toward his warlike father. This 7 years did not Talbot see his son, and now they meet where both their lives are done.
Alas, what joy shall noble Talbot have to bid his young son welcome to his grave? Away! Vexation almost stops my breath that sundered friends greet in the hour of death. Lucy, farewell. No more my fortune can but curse the cause. I cannot aid the man. Maine, Roye, Poitiers, and Tours are won away. Long all of Somerset and his delay.
Thus, while the vulture of sedition feeds in the bosom of such great commanders, sleeping neglection doth betray to loss the conquest of our scarce cold conqueror, that ever-living man of memory, Henry V. Whilst they each other cross, lives, honors, lands, and all hurry to loss.
Act 4, Scene 4. Another part of Gascony. The Duke of Somerset's camp. Enter Somerset with his army and a captain from Talbot's army.
It is too late. I cannot send them now. This expedition was by York and Talbot too rashly plotted. All our general force might be with a sally of the very town be buckled with. The overdaring Talbot hath sullied all his gloss of former honor by this unheedful, desperate, wild adventure. York set him on to fight and die in shame, that Talbot dead, great York might bear the name.
Here is Sir William Lucy, who with me set from our o'ermatched forces forth for aid.
How now, Sir William, whither were you sent?
Whither, my lord? From bought and sold Lord Talbot, who ringed about with bold adversity, cries out for noble York and Somerset to beat assailing death from his weak regions. And whilst the honorable captain there drops bloody sweat from his war-wearied limbs, and in advantage lingering looks for rescue, you, his false hopes, the trust of England's honor, keep off aloof with worthless emulation. Let not your private discord keep away the levied succors that should lend him aid, while he, renowned noble gentleman, yield up his life unto a world of odds. Orleans the bastard, Charles, Burgundy, Alençon, Renier compass him about, and Talbot perisheth by your default.
York set him on. York should have sent him aid.
And York, as fast upon your grace, exclaims, swearing that you withhold his levied host, collected for this expedition.
York lies. He might have sent and had the horse. I hold in little duty and less love, and take foul scorn to fawn on him by sending.
The fraud of England, not the force of France, hath now entrapped the noble-minded Talbot. Never to England shall he bear his life, but dies betrayed to fortune by your strife.
Come, go. I will dispatch the horsemen straight. Within 6 hours, they will be at his aid.
Too late comes rescue. He is ta'en or slain. For fly he could not if he would have fled, and fly would Talbot never, though he might.
If he be dead, brave Talbot, then adieu.
His fame lies in the world, his shame in you.
Act 4, Scene 5, Talbot's camp outside of Bordeaux. Enter Lord Talbot and John Talbot, his son.
O young John Talbot, I did send for thee to tutor thee in the stratagems of war, that Talbot's name might be in thee revived, when sapless age and weak unable limbs should bring thy father to his drooping chair. But, O malignant and ill-boding stars, now thou art come unto a feast of death, a terrible and unavoided danger. Therefore, dear boy, mount on my swifted horse, and I'll direct thee how thou shalt escape by sudden flight. Come, dally not, be gone.
Is my name Talbot? And am I your son? And shall I fly? Oh, if you love my mother, dishonor not her honorable name, to make a bastard and a slave of me. The world will say he is not Talbot's blood, that basely fled when noble Talbot stood.
Fly, to revenge my death if I be slain.
He that flies so will ne'er return again.
If we both stay, we are both sure to die.
Then let me stay, and father, do you fly. Your loss is great, so your regard should be. My worth unknown, no loss is known in me. Upon my death the French can little boast. In yours they will. In you all hopes are lost. Flight cannot stain the honor you have won, but mine it will. That no exploit have done. You fled for vantage, everyone will swear, but if I bow, they'll say it was for fear. There is no hope that ever I will stay, if the first hour I shrink and run away. Here, on my knee, I beg mortality, rather than life preserved with infamy.
Shall all thy mother's hopes lie in one tomb?
Aye, rather than I'll share my mother's womb.
Upon my blessing, I command thee to go.
To fight, I will, but not to fly the foe.
Part of thy father may be saved in thee.
No part of him, but would be shame in me.
Thou never hadst renown, nor canst not lose it.
Your renowned name, shall flight abuse it?
Thy father's charge shall clear thee from that stain.
You cannot witness for me being slain. If death be so apparent, then both fly.
And leave my followers here to fight and die? My age was never tainted with such shame.
And shall my youth be guilty of such blame? No more can I be severed from your side than can yourself in twain divide. Stay, go, do what you will, the like do I. For live I will not, if my father die.
Then here I take my leave of thee, fair son, born to eclipse thy life this afternoon. Come, side by side, together live and die, and soul with soul from France to heaven fly.
Act 4, Scene 6, the battlefield outside of Bordeaux. And Talbot rescuing his son, John Talbot.
St. George in victory! Fight, soldiers, fight! The regent hath with Talbot broke his word, and left us to the rage of France his sword. Where's John Talbot? Pause and take thy breath. I give thee life and rescued thee from death.
Oh, twice, my father, twice I am thy son. The life thou gavest me first was lost and done, till with thy warlike sword, despite of fate, to my determined time thou gavest new date.
When from the Dauphin's crest thy sword struck fire, it warmed thy father's heart with proud desire. Of bold-faced victory then led an age, quickened with youthful spleen and warlike rage, beat down Alençon, Orleans, Burgundy, and from the pride of Gallia rescued thee. The ireful bastard Orleans that drew blood from thee, my boy, and had the maidenhood of thy first fight. I soon encountered, and exchanging blows I quickly shed some of his bastard blood, and in disgrace bespoke him thus: contaminated base and misgotten blood I spill of thine, mean and rightful poor, for that pure blood of mine, which thou didst force from Talbot, my brave boy, here purposing the bastard to destroy. Came in strong rescue, speak thy father's care. Art not thou weary, John? How dost thou fare? Wilt thou yet leave the battle, boy, and fly, now thou art sealed the son of chivalry? Fly to revenge my death when I am dead, and help of one stands me in little stead. Oh, too much folly is it, well I wot, to hazard all our lives in one small boat. If I today die not with Frenchmen's rage, tomorrow I shall die with mickle age. By me they nothing gain, and if I stay, 'tis but a shortening of my life one day. In thee, thy mother dies, our household's name. My death's revenge, thy youth and England's fame. All these and more we hazard by thy stay. All these are saved, if thou wilt fly away.
The sword of Orleans hath not made me smart. These words of yours draw life blood from my heart. On that advantage bought with such shame, to save a paltry life and slay bright fame. Before young Talbot from old Talbot fly, the coward horse that bears me fall and die. And like me to the peasant boys of France, to be shame's scorn and subject of mischance. Surely by all the glory you have won, and if I fly, I am not Talbot's son. Then talk no more of flight, it is no boot. If son of Talbot, then die at Talbot's foot.
Then follow thou thy desperate sire of Crete. Thou Icarus, thy life to me is sweet. If thou wilt fight, fight by thy father's side, and commendable proud, let's die in pride.
Act 4, Scene 7, another part of the battlefield. Enter Lord Talbot, gravely injured, led by a servant.
Where's my other life? Mine own is gone. Oh, where is young Talbot? Where is valiant John? Triumphant death smeared with captivity. Young Talbot's valor makes me smile at thee. When he perceived me shrink, and on my knee his bloody sword he brandished over me, like a hungry lion did commence rough deeds of rage and stern impatience. But when my angry guardian stood alone, tendering my ruin and assailed of none. Dizzy-eyed fury and great rage of heart suddenly made him from my side to start into the clustering battle of the French, and in that sea of blood my boy did drench his overmounting spirit, and there died my Icarus, my blossom in his pride.
Oh, my dear lord, lo, where your son is born.
Thou antic death, which laughest us here to scorn, anon from thy insulting tyranny, coupled in the bonds of perpetuity. Two Talbots, winged through the lither sky, in thy despite shall scrape mortality. O thou whose wounds become hard-favored death, speak to thy father ere thou yield thy breath. Brave death by speaking, whether he will or no. Imagine him a Frenchman and thy foe. Poor boy. He smiles, methinks, as who should say, had death been French, then death had died today. Come, lay him in his father's arms. My spirit can no longer bear these harms. Soldiers, adieu. I have what I would have, and now my old arms are young John Talbot's grave.
York and Somerset brought rescue in. We should have found a bloody day of this.
Oh, the young whelp of Talbot's raging wood, it flesh his puny sword in Frenchman's blood.
Once I encountered him, and thus I said, Thou maiden youth, be vanquished by a maid. But with a proud, majestical high scorn, he answered thus, Young Talbot was not born to be the pillage of a giglet wench. So, rushing in the bowels of the French, he left me proudly, as unworthy fight.
Doubtless he would have made a noble knight. See where he lies enhearsed in the arms of the most bloody nurser of his harms.
Hew them to pieces, hack their bones asunder, whose life was England's glory, Gallia's wonder.
Oh, no, forbear. For that which we have fled during the life, let us not wrong it dead.
Harold, conduct me to the Dauphin's tent, to know who hath obtained the glory of the day.
On what submissive message art thou sent?
Submission, Dauphin. 'Tis a mere French word. We English warriors wot not what it means. I come to know what prisoners thou hast taken, and to survey the bodies of the dead.
For prisoners, ask thou? Hell is our prison. But tell me what whom thou seekst.
But where's the great Alcides of the field? Valiant Lord Talbot, Earl of Shrewsbury, created for his rare success in arms, great Earl of Washford, Waterford, and Valens, Lord Talbot of Goodrich and Urchinfield, Lord Strange of Blackmere, Lord Verdon of Alton, Lord Cromwell of Wingfield, Lord Furnival of Sheffield, the thrice victorious Lord of Falconbridge, Knight of the Noble Order of St. George, worthy St. Michael and the Golden Fleece, great Marshal to Henry VI, of all his wars within the realm of France.
Here's a silly, stately style indeed. The Turk that 52 kingdoms hath writes not so tedious a style as this. Him that thou magnifiest with all these titles, stinking and fly-blown, lies here at our feet.
Is Talbot slain? The Frenchman's only scourge, your kingdom's terror and black nemesis? Oh, were mine eyeballs into bullets turned, that I in rage might shoot them in your faces. Oh, that I could but call these dead to life, it were enough to fright the realm of France. Were but his picture left amongst you here, it would amaze the proudest of you all. Give me their bodies, that I may bear them hence and give them burial as beseems their worth.
I think this upstart is old Talbot's ghost. He speaks with such a proud, commanding spirit. For God's sake, let him have them. To keep him here, they would but stink and putrefy the air.
Go, take their bodies hence.
I'll bear them hence. But from their ashes shall be reared a phoenix that shall make all France afeard.
So we be rid of them, do with him what thou wilt. And now to Paris in this conquering vein, all will be ours, now bloody Talbot slain.